Probably the day would have been a greater success if Cyril had not been reading the last of the Mohicans. The story was running in his head at breakfast, and as he took his third cup of tea, he said dreamily, "I wish there were red Indians in England. Not big ones, you know, but little ones, just about the right size for us to fight." Everyone disagreed with him at the time, and no one attached any importance to the incident. But when they went down to the sandpit to ask for 100 pounds in 2-shilling pieces with Queen Victoria's head on, to prevent mistakes, which they had always felt to be a really reasonable wish that must turn out well, they found out that they had done it again. For the Samite, which was very cross and sleepy, said, "Oh, don't bother me. You've had your wish." "I didn't know it," said Cyril. "Don't you remember yesterday?" said the Sand Fairy, still more disagreeably. "You asked me to let you have your wishes wherever you happen to be, and you wished this morning, and you've got it." "Oh, have we?" said Robert. "What is it?" "So you forgot," said the Samite, beginning to burble. "Never mind, you'll know soon enough, and I wish you joy of it. A nice thing you've let yourselves in for." "We always do, somehow," said Jane sadly. And now the odd thing was that no one could remember anyone's having wished for anything that morning. The wish about the Red Indians had not stuck in anyone's head. It was a most anxious morning. Everyone was trying to remember what had been wished for, and no one could, and everyone kept expecting something awful to happen every minute. It was most agitating. They knew, from what the Samite had said, that they must have wished for something more than usually undesirable, and they spent several hours in most agonizing uncertainty. It was not till nearly dinner time that Jane tumbled over the last of the Mohicans, which had, of course, been left face downwards on the floor. And when Anthea had picked her and the book up, she suddenly said, "I know," and sat down flat on the carpet. Oh, Pussy, how awful. It was Indians he wished for Cyril at breakfast. "Don't you remember?" he said. "I wish there were red Indians in England, and now there are, and they're going about scalping people all over the country, like as not. Perhaps they're only in Northumberland and Durham," said Jane soothingly. It was almost impossible to believe that it could really hurt people much to be scalped so far away as that. "Don't you believe it?" said Anthea. "The Samiad said we'd let ourselves in for a nice thing. That means they'll come here. And suppose they scalped the lamb. Perhaps the scalping would come right again at sunset," said Jane. But she did not speak so hopefully as usual. "Not it," said Anthea. "The things that grow out of the wishes don't go. Look at the 15 shillings. Pussy, I'm going to break something, and you must let me have every penny of money you've got. The Indians will come here, don't you see? That spiteful Samite as good as said so. You see what my plan is. Come on." Jane did not see at all, but she followed her sister meekly into their mother's bedroom. Anthea lifted down the heavy water jug. It had a pattern of storks and long grasses on it, which Anthea never forgot. She carried it into the dressing room and carefully emptied the water out of it into the bath. Then she took the jug back into the bedroom and dropped it on the floor. You know how a jug always breaks if you happen to drop it by accident. If you happen to drop it on purpose, It is quite different. Anthea dropped that jug 3 times, and it was as unbroken as ever. So at last, she had to take her father's boot tree and break the jug with that in cold blood. It was heartless work. Next, she broke open the missionary box with the poker. Jane told her that it was wrong, of course, but Anthea shut her lips very tight and then said, "Don't be silly. It's a matter of life and death." There was not very much in the missionary box, only 7 and 4pence, but the girls between them had nearly 4 shillings. This made over 11 shillings, as you will easily see. Anthea tied up the money in a corner of her pocket handkerchief. "Come on, Jane," she said, and ran down to the farm. She knew that the farmer was going into Rochester that afternoon. In fact, it had been arranged that he was to take the 4 children with him. They had planned this in the happy hour when they believed that they were going to get that £100 in 2-shilling pieces out of the Sammead. They had arranged to pay the farmer 2 shillings each for the ride. Now Anthea hastily explained to him that they could not go, but would he take Martha and the baby instead? He agreed, but he was not pleased to get only half a crown instead of 8 shillings. Then the girls ran home again. Anthea was agitated, but not flurried. When she came to think it over afterwards, she could not help seeing that she had acted with the most far-seeing promptitude, just like a born general. She fetched a little box from her corner drawer and went to find Martha, who was laying the cloth and not in the best of tempers. "Look here," said Anthea. "I've broken the toilet jug in Mother's room." "Just like you always up to some mischief," said Martha, dumping down a salt cellar with a bang. "Don't be cross, Martha dear," said Anthea. "I've got enough money to pay for a new one. If only you'll be a dear and go and buy it for us. Your cousins keep a china shop, don't they? And I would like you to get it today, in case Mother comes home tomorrow. You know she said she might, perhaps. But you're all going into town yourselves," said Martha. "We can't afford to if we get the new jug," said Anthea. "But we'll pay for you to go if you'll take the lamb. And I say, Martha, look here. I'll give you my Liberty box if you'll go. Look, it's most awfully pretty, all inlaid with real silver and ivory and ebony, like King Solomon's temple." "I see," said Martha. "No, I don't want your box, miss. What you want is to get the precious lamb off your hands for the afternoon. Don't you go for to think I don't see through you." This was so true that Anthea longed to deny it at once. Martha had no business to know so much, but she held her tongue. Martha set down the bread with a bang that made it jump off its trencher. "I do want the jug got," said Anthea softly. "You will go, won't you? Well, just for this once. I don't mind. But mind you don't get into none of your outrageous mischief while I'm gone, that's all." "He's going earlier than he thought," said Anthea eagerly. "You'd better hurry and get dressed. Do put on that lovely purple frock, Martha, and the hat with the pink cornflowers and the yellow lace collar. Jane'll finish laying the cloth, and I'll wash the lamb and get him ready." As she washed the unwilling lamb and hurried him into his best clothes, Anthea peeped out of the window from time to time. So far all was well. She could see no red Indians, when with a rush and a scurry, and some deepening of the damask of Martha's complexion, she and the lamb had been got off. Anthea drew a deep breath. "He's safe," she said, and to Jane's horror, flung herself down on the floor and burst into floods of tears. Jane did not understand at all how a person could be so brave and like a general, and then suddenly give way and go flat like an air balloon when you prick it. It is better not to go flat, of course, but you will observe that Anthea did not give way till her aim was accomplished. She had got the dear lamb out of danger. She felt certain the Red Indians would be round the White House or nowhere. The farmer's cart would not come back till after sunset, so she could afford to cry a little. It was partly with joy that she cried, because she had done what she meant to do. She cried for about 3 minutes, while Jane hugged her miserably and said at 5-second intervals, "Don't cry, Panther dear." Then she jumped up, rubbed her eyes hard with the corner of her pinafore, so that they kept red for the rest of the day, and started to tell the boys. But just at that moment, Cook rang the dinner bell, and nothing could be said till they had all been helped to minced beef. Then Cook left the room, and Anthea told her tale. But it is a mistake to tell a thrilling tale when people are eating minced beef and boiled potatoes. There seemed somehow to be something about the food that made the idea of Red Indians seem flat and unbelievable. The boys actually laughed and called Anthea a little silly. "Why," said Cyril, "I'm almost sure it was before I said that Jane said she wished it would be a fine day." "It wasn't," said Jane briefly. "Why, if it was Indians," Cyril went on, "salt, please, and mustard. I must have something to make this mush go down. If it was Indians, they'd have been infesting the place long before this. You know they would. I believe it's the fine day." "Then why did the Psammeads say we'd let ourselves in for a nice thing?" asked Anthea. She was feeling very cross. She knew she had acted with nobility and discretion, and after that, it was very hard to be called a little silly, especially when she had the weight of a burglared missionary box and about 7 4/4, mostly in coppers, lying like lead upon her conscience. There was a silence, during which Cook took away the mincy plates and brought in the treacle pudding. As soon as she had retired, Cyril began again. "Of course I don't mean to say," he admitted, "that it wasn't a good thing to get Martha and the lamb out of the light for the afternoon. But as for Red Indians, why, you know jolly well the wishes always come that very minute. If there was going to be Red Indians, they'd be here now." "I expect they are," said Anthea. "They're lurking amid the undergrowth, for anything you know. I do think you're most beastly unkind. Indians almost always do lurk, really, though, don't they?" put in Jane, anxious for peace. "No, they don't," said Cyril tartly. "And I'm not unkind. I'm only truthful. And I say it was utter rot breaking the water jug. And as for the missionary box, I believe it's a treason crime, and I shouldn't wonder if you could be hanged for it. If any of us was to split, shut up, can't you?" said Robert, but Cyril couldn't. You see, he felt in his heart that if there should be Indians, they would be entirely his own fault. So he did not wish to believe in them, and trying not to believe things when in your heart you are almost sure they are true, is as bad for the temper as anything I know. It's simply idiotic, he said, talking about Indians, when you can see for yourselves that it's Jane who's got her wish. Look what a fine day it is, oh. He had turned towards the window to point out the fineness of the day. The others turned too, and a frozen silence caught at Cyril, and none of the others felt at all like breaking it. For there, peering round the corner of the window, among the red leaves of the Virginia creeper, was a face, a brown face, with a long nose and a tight mouth and very bright eyes. And the face was painted in colored patches. It had long black hair, and in the hair were feathers. Every child's mouth in the room opened and stayed open. The treacle pudding was growing white and cold on their plates. No one could move. Suddenly, the feathered head was cautiously withdrawn, and the spell was broken. I am sorry to say that Anthea's first words were very like a girl. "There now," she said, "I told you so." Treacle pudding had now definitely ceased to charm. Hastily wrapping their portions in a Spectator of the week before last, they hid them behind the crinkled paper stove ornament and fled upstairs to reconnoiter and to hold a hurried council. "Pax," said Cyril handsomely when they reached their mother's bedroom. "Panther, I'm sorry if I was a brute." "All right," said Anthea, "but you see now." No further trace of Indians, however, could be discerned from the windows. "Well," said Robert, "what are we to do?" "The only thing I can think of," said Anthea, who was now generally admitted to be the heroine of the day, "is if we dressed up as like Indians as we can, and looked out of the windows, or even went out. They might think we were the powerful leaders of a large neighboring tribe, and not do anything to us, you know, for fear of awful vengeance." "But Eliza and the cook," said Jane. "You forget, they can't notice anything," said Robert. "They wouldn't notice anything out of the way, even if they were scalped or roasted at a slow fire. But would they come right at sunset? Of course, you can't be really scalped or burned to death without noticing it, and you'd be sure to notice it next day, even if it escaped your attention at the time," said Cyril. "I think Anthea's right, but we shall want a most awful lot of feathers." "I'll go down to the hen house," said Robert. "There's one of the turkeys in there. It's not very well. I could cut its feathers without it minding much. It's very bad, doesn't seem to care what happens to it. Get me the cutting-out scissors." Earnest reconnoitering convinced them all that no Indians were in the poultry yard. Robert went. In 5 minutes he came back pale, but with many feathers. "Look here," he said, "this is jolly serious. I cut off the feathers, and when I turned to come out, there was an Indian squinting at me from under the old hen coop. I just brandished the feathers and yelled, and got away before he could get the coop off the top of himself. Panther, get the colored blankets off our beds, and look slippy, can't you? It is wonderful how like an Indian you can make yourselves with blankets and feathers and colored scarves." Of course, none of the children happened to have long black hair, but there was a lot of black calico that had been got to cover school books with. They cut strips of this into a sort of fine fringe and fastened it round their heads with the amber-colored ribbons off the girls' Sunday dresses. Then they stuck turkey's feathers in the ribbons. The calico looked very like long black hair, especially when the strips began to curl up a bit. "But our faces," said Anthea, "they're not at all the right color. We're all rather pale, and I'm sure I don't know why. But Cyril is the color of putty." "I'm not," said Cyril. "The real Indians outside seem to be brownish," said Robert hastily. "I think we ought to be really red. It's sort of superior to have a red skin, if you are one." The red ochre cook used for the kitchen bricks seemed to be about the reddest thing in the house. The children mixed some in a saucer with milk, as they had seen cook do for the kitchen floor. Then they carefully painted each other's faces and hands with it, till they were quite as red as any red Indian need be, if not redder. They knew at once that they must look very terrible when they met Eliza in the passage, and she screamed aloud. This unsolicited testimonial pleased them very much. Hastily telling her not to be a goose, and that it was only a game, the four blanketed, feathered, really, and truly redskins went boldly out to meet the foe. I say boldly. That is because I wish to be polite. At any rate, they went. Along the hedge dividing the wilderness from the garden was a row of dark heads, all highly feathered. "It's our only chance," whispered Anthea. "Much better than to wait for their blood-freezing attack. We must pretend like mad. Like that game of cards where you pretend you've got aces when you haven't. Fluffing they call it, I think. Now then, whoop." With 4 wild war whoops, or as near them as English children could be expected to go without any previous practice, they rushed through the gate and struck 4 warlike attitudes in face of the line of red Indians. These were all about the same height, and that height was Cyril's. "I hope to goodness they can talk English," said Cyril through his attitude. Anthea knew they could, though she never knew how she came to know it. She had a white towel tied to a walking stick. This was a flag of truce, and she waved it in the hope that the Indians would know what it was. Apparently they did, for one who was browner than the others stepped forward. "Yisika powwow," he said in excellent English. "I am Golden Eagle of the mighty tribe of rock dwellers." "And I," said Anthea, with a sudden inspiration, "am the Black Panther chief of the Mazawaty tribe. My brothers, I don't mean, yes, I do, the tribe. I mean the Mazawatys are in ambush below the brow of yonder hill. And what mighty warriors be these?" asked Golden Eagle, turning to the others. Cyril said he was the great chief squirrel of the moaning Congo tribe, and seeing that Jane was sucking her thumb and could evidently think of no name for herself, he added, "This great warrior is Wildcat Pussy Ferox, we call it in this land leader of the vast Fidesi tribe. And thou, valorous redskin," Golden Eagle inquired suddenly of Robert, who, taken unawares, could only reply that he was Bob's, leader of the Cape Mounted Police. "And now," said Black Panther, "our tribes, if we just whistle them up, will far outnumber your puny forces, so resistance is useless. Return, therefore, to your own land, O brother, and smoke pipes of peace in your wampums with your squaws and your medicine men, and dress yourselves in the gayest wigwams, and eat happily of the juicy fresh-caught moccasins, "You've got it all wrong," murmured Cyril angrily. But Golden Eagle only looked inquiringly at her. "Thy customs are other than ours, O Black Panther," he said. "Bring up thy tribe, that we may hold powwow in state before them, as becomes great chiefs." "We'll bring them up right enough," said Anthea, "with their bows and arrows and tomahawks and scalping knives, and everything you can think of, if you don't look sharp and go." She spoke bravely enough, but the hearts of all the children were beating furiously, and their breath came in shorter and shorter gasps, for the little real red Indians were closing up round them, coming nearer and nearer with angry murmurs, so that they were the center of a crowd of dark, cruel faces. "It's no go," whispered Robert. "I knew it wouldn't be. We must make a bolt for the Sammead. It might help us. If it doesn't, well, I suppose we shall come alive again at sunset. I wonder if scalping hurts as much as they say." "I'll wave the flag again," said Anthea. "If they stand back, we'll run for it." She waved the towel, and the chief commanded his followers to stand back. Then, charging wildly at the place where the line of Indians was thinnest, the 4 children started to run. Their first rush knocked down some half-dozen Indians, over whose blanketed bodies the children leaped, and made straight for the sandpit. This was no time for the safe, easy way by which carts go down. Right over the edge of the sandpit they went, among the yellow and pale purple flowers and dried grasses, past the little sand martin's little front doors, skipping, clinging, bounding, stumbling, sprawling, and finally rolling. Yellow Eagle and his followers came up with them, just at the very spot where they had seen the Sammead that morning. Breathless and beaten, the wretched children now awaited their fate. Sharp knives and axes gleamed round them, but worse than these was the cruel light in the eyes of Golden Eagle and his followers. "Ye have lied to us, O Black Panther of the Mazawatis, and thou, too, Squirrel of the moaning Congos. These also, Pussy Ferox of the Fiddizy, and Bobs of the Cape Mounted Police, these also have lied to us, if not with their tongue, yet by their silence. Ye have lied under the cover of the truce flag of the paleface. Ye have no followers. Your tribes are far away, following the hunting trail. What shall be their doom?" he concluded, turning with a bitter smile to the other red Indians. "Build we the fire," shouted his followers, and at once a dozen ready volunteers started to look for fuel. The 4 children, each held between 2 strong little Indians, cast despairing glances round them. Oh, if they could only see the Sammead. "Do you mean to scalp us first, and then roast us?" asked Anthea desperately. "Of course." Redskin opened his eyes at her. "It's always done." The Indians had formed a ring round the children, and now sat on the ground, gazing at their captives. There was a threatening silence. Then slowly, by 2s and 3s, the Indians who had gone to look for firewood came back, and they came back empty-handed. They had not been able to find a single stick of wood for a fire. No one ever can, as a matter of fact, in that part of Kent. The children drew a deep breath of relief, but it ended in a moan of terror. For bright knives were being brandished all about them. Next moment, each child was seized by an Indian. Each closed its eyes and tried not to scream. They waited for the sharp agony of the knife. It did not come. Next moment, they were released and fell in a trembling heap. Their heads did not hurt at all. They only felt strangely cool. Wild war whoops rang in their ears. When they ventured to open their eyes, they saw 4 of their foes dancing round them with wild leaps and screams, and each of the 4 brandished in his hand a scalp of long, flowing black hair. They put their hands to their heads. Their own scalps were safe. The poor, untutored savages had indeed scalped the children, but they had only, so to speak, scalped them of the black calico ringlets. The children fell into each other's arms, sobbing and laughing. "Their scalps are ours," chanted the chief. "Ill-rooted were their ill-fated hairs. They came off in the hands of the victors, without struggle, without resistance. They yielded their scalps to the conquering rock-dwellers. Oh, how little a thing is a scalp so lightly won. They'll take our real ones in a minute. You see if they don't," said Robert, trying to rub some of the red ochre off his face and hands onto his hair. "Cheated of our just and fiery revenge are we," the chant went on. "But there are other torments than the scalping knife and the flames. Yet is the slow fire the correct thing. O strange, unnatural country, wherein a man may find no wood to burn his enemy. Ah, for the boundless forests of my native land, where the great trees for thousands of miles grow, but to furnish firewood wherewithal to burn our foes. Ah, would we were but in our native forest once more." Suddenly, like a flash of lightning, the golden gravel shone all round the 4 children instead of the dusky figures. For every single Indian had vanished on the instant at their leader's word. The Samite must have been there all the time, and it had given the Indian chief his wish. Martha brought home a jug with a pattern of storks and long grasses on it. Also, she brought back all Anthea's money. My cousin, she give me the jug for luck. She said it was an odd one, what the basin of it got smashed. "Oh, Martha, you arca dear," sighed Anthea, throwing her arms round her. "Yes," giggled Martha, "you'd better make the most of me while you've got me. I shall give your ma notice directly minute she comes back. Oh, Martha, we haven't been so very horrid to you, have we?" asked Anthea, aghast. "Oh, it ain't that, miss." Martha giggled more than ever. "I'm a-goin' to be married. It's Beale the gamekeeper. He's been apropos to me off, and on ever since you come home from the clergyman's where you got locked up on the church tower. And today I said the word and made him a happy man." Anthea put the 7 and 4pence back in the missionary box and pasted paper over the place where the poker had broken it. She was very glad to be able to do this, and she does not know to this day whether breaking open a missionary box is or is not a hanging matter. The last wish. Of course you, who see above that this is the 11th and last chapter, know very well that the day of which this chapter tells must be the last on which Cyril, Anthea, Robert, and Jane will have a chance of getting anything out of the Samite or Sand Fairy. But the children themselves did not know this. They were full of rosy visions, and whereas on other days they had often found it extremely difficult to think of anything really nice to wish for, their brains were now full of the most beautiful and sensible ideas. Everyone was up extra early that morning, and these plans were hopefully discussed in the garden before breakfast. The old idea of 100 pounds in modern Florence was still first favorite, but there were others that ran it close, the chief of these being the pony each idea. This had a great advantage. You could wish for a pony each during the morning, ride it all day, have it vanish at sunset, and wish it back again next day, which would be an economy of litter and stabling. But at breakfast, 2 things happened. First, there was a letter from Mother. Granny was better, and Mother and Father hoped to be home that very afternoon. A cheer arose, and of course, this news at once scattered all the before-breakfast wish-ideas. For everyone saw quite plainly that the wish for the day must be something to please Mother and not to please themselves. "I wonder what she would like," pondered Cyril. "She'd like us all to be good," said Jane primly. "Yes, but that's so dull for us," Cyril rejoined. "And besides, I should hope we could be that without sand fairies to help us. No, it must be something splendid that we couldn't possibly get without wishing for." "Look out," said Anthea in a warning voice. "Don't forget yesterday. Remember, we get our wishes now just wherever we happen to be when we say, 'I wish.' Let's let ourselves in for anything silly today of all days." "All right," said Cyril. "You needn't jaw." Just then Martha came in with a jug full of hot water for the teapot, and a face full of importance for the children. A blessing we're all alive to eat our breakfasts. She said darkly, "Why, whatever's happened?" Everybody asked. "Oh, nothing," said Martha. "Only it seems nobody's safe from being murdered in their beds nowadays." "Why," said Jane, as an agreeable thrill of horror ran down her back and legs, and out at her toes. "Has anyone been murdered in their beds?" "Well, not exactly," said Martha, "but they might just as well. There's been burglars over at Peasmarsh Place. Beals just told me. And they've took every single one of Lady Chittenden's diamonds and jewels and things. And she's a-goin' out of one fainting fit into another, with hardly time to say, 'Oh, my diamonds,' in between. And Lord Chittenden's away in London." "Lady Chittenden," said Anthea, "we've seen her. She wears a red and white dress, and she has no children of her own and can't abide other folkses." "That's her," said Martha. "Well, she's put all her trust in riches, and you see how she served. They say the diamonds and things was worth thousands of pounds. There was a necklace and a river, whatever that is, and no end of bracelets, and a tiara, and ever so many rings. But there, I mustn't stand talking. And all the place to clean down before your ma comes home. I don't see why she should ever have had such lots of diamonds," said Anthea when Martha had bounced off. "She was rather a nasty lady, I thought. And Mother hasn't any diamonds, and hardly any jewels, the topaz necklace, and the sapphire ring Daddy gave her when they were engaged, and the garnet star, and the little pearl brooch with great-grandpapa's hair in it. That's about all. When I'm grown up, I'll buy Mother no end of diamonds," said Robert, "if she wants them. I shall make so much money exploring in Africa. I shan't know what to do with it." "Wouldn't it be jolly," said Jane dreamily, "if Mother could find all those lovely things, necklaces and rivers of diamonds and taras. Taras, said Cyril. Tiaras, then, and rings, and everything in her room when she came home. I wish she would. The others gazed at her in horror. Well, she will, said Robert. You've wished, my good Jane, and our only chance now is to find the Samite. And if it's in a good temper, it may take back the wish and give us another. If not, well, goodness knows what we're in for. The police, of course, and don't cry, silly. We'll stand by you. Father says we need never be afraid if we don't do anything wrong, and always speak the truth. But Cyril and Anthea exchanged gloomy glances. They remembered how convincing the truth about the Samite had been once before when told to the police. It was a day of misfortunes. Of course the Samite could not be found, nor the jewels, though every one of the children searched their mother's room again and again. Of course, Robert said, we couldn't find them. It'll be Mother who'll do that. Perhaps she'll think they've been in the house for years and years, and never know they are the stolen ones at all. Oh yes, Cyril was very scornful. Then Mother will be a receiver of stolen goods, and you know jolly well what that's worse than. Another and exhaustive search of the sandpit failed to reveal the Samite, so the children went back to the house slowly and sadly. I don't care, said Anthea stoutly. We'll tell Mother the truth, and she'll give back the jewels and make everything all right. Do you think so? Said Cyril slowly. Do you think she'll believe us? Could anyone believe about a Samiad unless they'd seen it? She'll think we're pretending. Or else she'll think we're raving mad, and then we shall be sent to Bedlam. How would you like it? He turned suddenly on the miserable Jane. How would you like it, to be shut up in an iron cage with bars and padded walls, and nothing to do but stick straws in your hair all day, and listen to the howlings and ravings of the other maniacs? Make up your minds to it, all of you. It's no use telling Mother. But it's true, said Jane. Of course it is, but it's not true enough for grown-up people to believe it, said Anthea. Cyril's right. Let's put flowers in all the vases and try not to think about diamonds. After all, everything has come right in the end all the other times. So they filled all the pots they could find with flowers, asters and zinnias, and loose-leaved late red roses from the wall of the stable yard, till the house was a perfect bower. And almost as soon as dinner was cleared away, Mother arrived, and was clasped in 8 loving arms. It was very difficult indeed not to tell her all about the Samite at once, because they had got into the habit of telling her everything, but they did succeed in not telling her. Mother, on her side, had plenty to tell them about Granny, and Granny's pigeons, and Auntie Emma's lame-tame donkey. She was very delighted with the flowery boweriness of the house, and everything seemed so natural and pleasant, now that she was home again, that the children almost thought they must have dreamed the Samite. But when Mother moved towards the stairs to go up to her bedroom and take off her bonnet, the 8 arms clung round her just as if she only had 2 children, one the lamb and the other an octopus. Don't go up, Mummy darling, said Anthea. Let me take your things up for you. Or I will, said Cyril. We want you to come and look at the rose tree, said Robert. Oh, don't go up, said Jane helplessly. Nonsense, dears, said Mother briskly. I'm not such an old woman yet that I can't take my bonnet off in the proper place. Besides, I must wash these black hands of mine. So up she went, and the children, following her, exchanged glances of gloomy foreboding. Mother took off her bonnet. It was a very pretty hat, really, with white roses on it, and when she had taken it off, she went to the dressing table to do her pretty hair. On the table between the ring stand and the pincushion lay a green leather case. Mother opened it. Oh, how lovely! She cried. It was a ring, a large pearl with shining many-lighted diamonds set round it. Wherever did this come from? Mother asked, trying it on her wedding finger, which it fitted beautifully. However did it come here? I don't know, said each of the children truthfully. Father must have told Martha to put it here, Mother said. I'll run down and ask her. Let me look at it, said Anthea, who knew Martha would not be able to see the ring. But when Martha was asked, of course she denied putting the ring there, and so did Eliza and Cook. Mother came back to her bedroom, very much interested and pleased about the ring. But when she opened the dressing table drawer and found a long case containing an almost priceless diamond necklace, she was more interested still, though not so pleased. In the wardrobe, when she went to put away her bonnet, she found a tiara and several brooches, and the rest of the jewelry turned up in various parts of the room during the next half hour. The children looked more and more uncomfortable, and now Jane began to sniff. Mother looked at her gravely. Jane, she said, I am sure you know something about this. Now think before you speak, and tell me the truth. We found a fairy, said Jane obediently. No nonsense, please, said her mother sharply. Don't be silly, Jane, Cyril interrupted. Then he went on desperately. Look here, Mother, we've never seen the things before, but Lady Chittenden at Peasmarsh Place lost all her jewelry by wicked burglars last night. Could this possibly be it? All drew a deep breath. They were saved. But how could they have put it here? And why should they? Asked Mother, not unreasonably. Surely it would have been easier and safer to make off with it. Suppose, said Cyril, they thought it better to wait for sunset nightfall, before they went off with it. No one but us knew that you were coming back today. I must send for the police at once, said Mother distractedly. Oh, how I wish Daddy were here. Wouldn't it be better to wait till he does come? Asked Robert, knowing that his father would not be home before sunset. No, I can't wait a minute with all this on my mind, cried Mother. All this was the heap of jewel cases on the bed. They put them all in the wardrobe, and Mother locked it. Then Mother called Martha. Martha, she said, has any stranger been into M.Y. room since I've been away? Now, answer me truthfully. No, Mum, answered Martha. Leastways, what I mean to say, she stopped. Come, said her mistress kindly. I see someone has. You must tell me at once. Don't be frightened. I'm sure you haven't done anything wrong. Martha burst into heavy sobs. I was a-goin' to give you warning this very day, Mum, to leave at the end of my month. So, I was on account of me being going to make a respectable young man happy. A gamekeeper he is by trade, Mum, and I wouldn't deceive you of the name of Beale. And it's as true as I stand here. It was your coming home in such a hurry, and no warning given. Out of the kindness of his heart it was, as he says, Martha, my beauty, he says, which I ain't and never was. But you know how them men will go on. I can't see you a-toiling and a-moiling, and not lend a-elping. And which mine is a strong arm, and it's yours, Martha, my dear, says he. And so he helped me a-cleanin' of the windows, but outside, Mum, the whole time, and me in. If I never say another breathing word, it's the gospel truth. Were you with him the whole time? Asked her mistress. Him outside and me in, I was, said Martha, except for fetching up a fresh pail, and the leather that slut of a Eliza had hidden away behind the mangle. That will do, said the children's mother. I am not pleased with you, Martha, but you have spoken the truth, and that counts for something. When Martha had gone, the children clung round their mother. Oh, Mummy, darling, cried Anthea. It isn't Beale's fault, it isn't really. He's a great dear, he is, truly and honorably, and as honest as the day. Don't let the police take him, Mummy. Oh, don't. It was truly awful. Here was an innocent man accused of robbery through that silly wish of Jane's, and it was absolutely useless to tell the truth. All longed to, but they thought of the straws in the hair and the shrieks of the other frantic maniacs, and they could not do it. Is there a cart hereabouts? Asked Mother feverishly. A trap of any sort. I must drive into Rochester and tell the police at once. All the children sobbed. There's a cart at the farm. But oh, don't go. Oh, don't go. Wait till Daddy comes home. Mother took not the faintest notice. When she had set her mind on a thing, she always went straight through with it. She was rather like Anthea in this respect. Look here, Cyril, she said, sticking on her hat with long, sharp, violet-headed pins. I leave you in charge. Stay in the dressing room. You can pretend to be swimming boats in the bath, or something. Say I gave you leave. But stay there with the landing door open. I've locked the other. And don't let anyone go into my room. Remember, no one knows the jewels are there except me, and all of you, and the wicked thieves who put them there. Robert, you stay in the garden and watch the windows. If anyone tries to get in, you must run and tell the 2 farm men that I'll send up to wait in the kitchen. I'll tell them there are dangerous characters about that's true enough. Now, remember, I trust you both, but I don't think they'll try it till after dark, so you're quite safe. Goodbye, darlings. And she locked her bedroom door and went off with the key in her pocket. The children could not help admiring the dashing and decided way in which she had acted. They thought how useful she would have been in organizing escape from some of the tight places in which they had found themselves of late in consequence of their ill-timed wishes. She's a born general, said Cyril, but I don't know what's going to happen to us. Even if the girls were to hunt for that beastly Psammead and find it, and get it to take the jewels away again, Mother would only think we hadn't looked out properly, and let the burglars sneak in and nick them. Or else the police will think he got them, or else that she's been fooling them. Oh, it's a pretty decent, average, ghastly mess this time, and no mistake. He savagely made a paper boat and began to float it in the bath, as he had been told to do. Robert went into the garden and sat down on the worn yellow grass, with his miserable head between his helpless hands. Anthea and Jane whispered together in the passage downstairs, where the coconut matting was with the hole in it that you always caught your foot in if you were not careful. Martha's voice could be heard in the kitchen, grumbling loud and long. "It's simply quite too dreadfully awful," said Anthea. "How do you know all the diamonds are there, too? If they aren't, the police will think Mother and Father have got them, and that they've only given up some of them for a kind of desperate blind, and they'll be put in prison, and we shall be branded outcasts, the children of felons. And it won't be at all nice for Father and Mother either," she added, by a candid afterthought. "But what can we do?" asked Jane. "Nothing. At least we might look for the Samite again. It's a very, very hot day. He may have come out to warm that whisker of his. He won't give us any more beastly wishes today," said Jane flatly. "He gets crosser and crosser every time we see him. I believe he hates having to give wishes." Anthea had been shaking her head gloomily. Now she stopped shaking it so suddenly that it really looked as though she were pricking up her ears. "What is it?" asked Jane. "Oh, have you thought of something?" "Our one chance," cried Anthea dramatically. "The last lone, forlorn hope. Come on." At a brisk trot, she led the way to the sandpit. Oh, joy! There was the Samite, basking in a golden sandy hollow and preening its whiskers happily in the glowing afternoon sun. The moment it saw them, it whisked round and began to burrow. It evidently preferred its own company to theirs. But Anthea was too quick for it. She caught it by its furry shoulders gently but firmly and held it. "Here, none of that," said the Samite. "Leave go of me, will you?" But Anthea held him fast. "Dear, kind, darling Samyad," she said breathlessly. "Oh yes, it's all very well," it said. "You want another wish, I expect. But I can't keep on slaving from morning till night giving people their wishes. I must have some time to myself. Do you hate giving wishes?" asked Anthea gently, and her voice trembled with excitement. "Of course I do," it said. "Leave go of me or I'll bite. I really will, I mean it. Oh, well, if you choose to risk it." Anthea risked it and held on. "Look here," she said. "Don't bite me, listen to reason. If you'll only do what we want today, we'll never ask you for another wish as long as we live." The Samite was much moved. "I'd do anything," it said in a tearful voice. "I'd almost burst myself to give you one wish after another, as long as I held out, if you'd only never ask me to do it after today. If you knew how I hate to blow myself out with other people's wishes, and how frightened I am always that I shall strain a muscle or something, and then to wake up every morning and know you've GOT to do it. You don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. You don't." Its voice cracked with emotion, and the last "don't" was a squeak. Anthea set it down gently on the sand. "It's all over now," she said soothingly. "We promise faithfully never to ask for another wish after today." "Well, go ahead," said the Samite. "Let's get it over. How many can you do?" "I don't know, as long as I can hold out." "Well, first, I wish Lady Chittenden may find she's never lost her jewels." The Samite blew itself out, collapsed, and said, "Done." "I wish," said Anthea more slowly, "Mother mayn't get to the police." "Done," said the creature after the proper interval. "I wish," said Jane suddenly, "Mother could forget all about the diamonds." "Done," said the Samite, "but its voice was weaker. "Wouldn't you like to rest a little?" asked Anthea considerately. "Yes, please," said the Samite. "And before we go further, will you wish something for me?" "Can't you do wishes for yourself?" "Of course not," it said. "We were always expected to give each other our wishes. Not that we had any to speak of in the good old Megatherium days. Just wish, will you, that you may never be able, any of you, to tell anyone a word about me." "Why?" asked Jane. "Why, don't you see, if you told grown-ups, I should have no peace of my life. They'd get hold of me, and they wouldn't wish silly things like you do, but real earnest things, and the scientific people would hit on some way of making things last after sunset, as likely as not, and they'd ask for a graduated income tax, and old age pensions, and manhood suffrage, and free secondary education, and dull things like that, and get them, and keep them, and the whole world would be turned topsy-turvy. Do wish it. Quick." Anthea repeated the Samite's wish, and it blew itself out to a larger size than they had yet seen it attain. "And now," it said as it collapsed, "can I do anything more for you? Just one thing, and I think that clears everything up, doesn't it, Jane? I wish Martha to forget about the diamond ring, and Mother to forget about the keeper cleaning the windows." "It's like the brass bottle," said Jane. "Yes, I'm glad we read that, or I should never have thought of it." "Now," said the Samite faintly, "I'm almost worn out. Is there anything else?" "No, only thank you kindly for all you've done for us, and I hope you'll have a good long sleep, and I hope we shall see you again some day." "Is that a wish?" it said in a weak voice. "Yes, please," said the two girls together. Then, for the last time in the story, they saw the Samite blow itself out and collapse suddenly. It nodded to them, blinked its long snail's eyes, burrowed, and disappeared, scratching fiercely to the last, and the sand closed over it. "I hope we've done right," said Jane. "I'm sure we have," said Anthea. "Come on home and tell the boys." Anthea found Cyril glooming over his paper boats and told him. Jane told Robert. The two tales were only just ended when Mother walked in, hot and dusty. She explained that as she was being driven into Rochester to buy the girls' autumn school dresses, the axle had broken, and but for the narrowness of the lane and the high soft hedges, she would have been thrown out. As it was, she was not hurt, but she had had to walk home. "And oh, my dearest dear chicks," she said, "I am simply dying for a cup of tea. Do run and see if the kettle boils." "So you see it's all right," Jane whispered. "She doesn't remember. No more does Martha," said Anthea, who had been to ask after the state of the kettle. As the servants sat at their tea, Beale, the gamekeeper, dropped in. He brought the welcome news that Lady Chittenden's diamonds had not been lost at all. Lord Chittenden had taken them to be reset and cleaned, and the maid who knew about it had gone for a holiday. So that was all right. "I wonder if we ever shall see the Samite again," said Jane wistfully as they walked in the garden, while Mother was putting the lamb to bed. "I'm sure we shall," said Cyril, "if you really wished it." "We've promised never to ask it for another wish," said Anthea. "I never want to," said Robert earnestly. They did see it again, of course, but not in the story. And it was not in a sand pit either, but in a very, very, very different place. It was in, but I must say no more,